The signal no one wanted to hear. The bridge of the galactic exploration vessel Vigilant Star was quiet, the soft hum of the engines filling the air like a heartbeat. Captain Elias Ward sat in the command chair, scanning the empty black beyond. The viewport. It had been 3 weeks since they left the safety of the inner systems, heading into deep space where maps ended and rumors began. Suddenly, the silence broke. "Captain, I'm picking up something," said Rahl, the ship's sensor. "Officer," his voice tense. "It's faint, very faint. But it's definitely human." Ward straightened. "A human signal? Out here?" His voice carried both disbelief and interest. He leaned forward, watching as Rahl magnified the readings. "It's an old distress frequency," Rahl confirmed. "Pre-Union era. 200 years old at least." The alien's scaled fingers tapped the console. "It's coming from Sector 9 Kappa." An uninhabited system. Ward's brow furrowed. He knew that sector. At least he knew the stories. Haven Reach, a human colony lost during the First Contact Wars. Every record claimed it had been destroyed. No survivors, nothing left but wreckage and ash. But if this signal was real, then someone had survived. And if they survived this long, how? The alien first officer, Commander Virel, stepped closer, her tall frame casting a shadow over the display. "Captain, I strongly recommend we ignore this," she said. "That region is dangerous. There are reports of ships going missing. Entire crews disappearing without a trace." Ward didn't look away from the screen. "If there are humans out there, we can't just leave them. They could be dead already," Virel argued. "Or worse. Not themselves anymore." Before Ward could respond, the signal changed. At first it was just static. Then a voice emerged. Human, old Earth accent, ragged with desperation. "Don't come here? We're still here. And we're not alone." The words hung in the air like ice. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. No one spoke for several seconds. The engines hummed on, but the air felt heavier now. "Run it again," Ward ordered. The message repeated, exactly the same, exactly as broken. No background noise, no coordinates given. Just that one sentence. Virel folded her arms. "Captain, if that's not a warning, I don't know what is." Ward's jaw tightened. Or it's someone begging for help and too scared to say more. He turned toward the helm. "Helm, set course for Sector 9 Kappa. Maximum safe speed." The pilot hesitated. "I?" "Sir." The ship began to turn. Hours passed in tense silence. The further they traveled, the darker the void seemed to grow, as if the stars themselves avoided the region ahead. Finally, the Vigilant Star dropped out of warp. The crew gasped. There, floating against the black, was a planet, lush green continents, deep blue oceans, clouds drifting lazily across the surface. "It looks perfect," said the science officer, tilting her head in disbelief. "Too perfect." Ward's eyes narrowed. There were cities down there, still standing, roads and towers intact, no sign of battle damage, and yet there was no movement. No traffic, not a single visible person. "This doesn't make sense," Rahl muttered, scanning again. "Power readings are normal. Atmosphere is safe, but there are no life signs. How can there be cities with no people?" Asked the pilot, voice low. Ward felt a cold knot in his stomach. "We're going down," he said. Virel stepped in front of him. "Captain, think about this. A dead colony with working power. No life signs but a human distress call. This is wrong. Everything about this is wrong." Ward didn't flinch. "And if someone's still down there? Someone trapped? You want to leave them to die?" Virel didn't answer, but her eyes said everything. Within the hour, a landing team was ready. Ward led the group, 2 alien security officers, the science officer, and Rahl. The shuttle descended through thick clouds, breaking into sunlight over the sprawling main settlement. From above, the streets looked clean, almost freshly swept. Buildings stood tall, windows unbroken. The shuttle touched down in the center plaza. The doors opened to silence. The air was warm and carried a strange, faintly sweet smell, like flowers blooming far away. Ward stepped out first, his boots clicking on the smooth stone. No wind, no birds, no sound at all. The science officer ran a scan. Still no life signs, but I'm picking up faint power flows to several buildings. Ward led them to the nearest structure, a tall, glass-fronted hall with lights still glowing inside. The doors slid open without resistance. Inside, the air felt heavier. Dust lay in thin layers on the floor, but nothing looked abandoned. Tables stood neatly arranged, chairs pushed in. A half-finished cup of something sat on a counter, untouched. "This is creepy," one of the security officers muttered. Ward's gaze fell on a small object lying on a table. A book. He picked it up and saw the title stamped in faded letters. Colony Log, Mara Ellen. Flipping it open, he saw handwriting in simple block letters. The first entry spoke of farming yields, school openings, normal colony life. But then the tone shifted. "They found something in the mines," Ward read aloud. "Something that glowed in the dark. People started acting strange, saying they could hear voices at night." The last page made him stop. His voice grew quieter. "We are becoming something else. We can't leave the planet. It won't let us." The sudden sound of footsteps echoed through the hall. Everyone froze. Weapons came up instantly. The scanner beeped. No life signs. The footsteps grew closer, slow, deliberate. Then a scream. High, panicked, and cut off in an instant. It came from outside. One of the security officers swore under his breath. That was Koran. Ward rushed to the door, heart pounding. The plaza was empty. No blood, no body. Only the faint sound of something moving far down the street. "Stay together," Ward ordered. "No one wanders off." But deep inside, he knew they were already being watched. Asterisk Ghost City. The street stretched ahead like a frozen picture. Sunlight spilling across perfect buildings and empty sidewalks. Ward stepped out slowly, his eyes scanning every shadow. The air carried that same faint, sweet smell, stronger now, almost clinging to the back of his throat. Raoul checked his scanner again. "Still nothing," he muttered. "It's like the planet doesn't want us to see what's here." The team moved carefully, passing rows of houses with doors left slightly open. Inside, furniture sat untouched, meals half prepared, mugs on tables. It was as if everyone had simply walked away in the middle of their lives. A gust of wind rattled a metal sign above an old store. The noise felt too loud in the unnatural quiet. The science officer whispered, "It's like the city is holding its breath." Ward stopped at a building with large reinforced doors. The control panels still glowed, and a faint hum came from within. "Power's running here," he said, pressing the panel. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside was a small control station, screens showing flickering security feeds. Some cameras displayed empty streets. Others showed the edges of the forest beyond the city. But one feed caught Ward's eye. It showed the plaza they had just left. In the center stood a single figure, unmoving, pale skin gleaming faintly under the sun. "That wasn't there when we left," Morrell said sharply. Ward tried switching to another camera, but the screens began to flicker wildly, static washing over the images. A whisper bled through the speakers, faint, broken, yet familiar. "You shouldn't be here? Leave before it sees you, before it sees us?" Raoul repeated, glancing at Ward. A sudden metallic clang rang out above them. The ceiling shook, dust drifting down. Everyone drew their weapons. Ward motioned them toward the back exit. They pushed through a narrow alley, only to find more signs. That something had moved through recently. A dropped bag. Footprints too deep for a normal human. Halfway down the alley, The sound came again. Slow, deliberate footsteps, echoing closer. One of the security officers spun around, weapon raised. Contact. Something tall moved at the far end of the alley. Too fast to see clearly. Just a blur of pale skin and dark eyes. It vanished before anyone could fire. They emerged into another street, this one lined with tall glass buildings. The reflections in the glass warped strangely, making it hard to tell if the shadows moving inside were real or tricks of the light. Ward led them into a low, squat building that looked like an old records office. Inside, he found dusty shelves, stacks of paper, and a locked cabinet, breaking. It opened. He pulled out more diaries, all handwritten, all by different people. The early entries spoke of a normal colony life, but later pages described dreams of the shining core and a voice under the ground. Some claimed they could see things moving in the corner of their vision, even in daylight. Others wrote that they no longer felt pain or fear. One entry stopped him cold. The Haven mind welcomes us. Soon we will all be one. Varel's voice cut in, tense. Captain, you need to see this. He stepped outside to find her standing at the edge of the street, pointing at the rooftops. Dozens of pale figures now stood there, motionless, watching them. Their eyes glowed faint blue in the shadow. They're not coming closer, Raoul whispered. Why aren't they moving? Ward didn't answer. His instincts screamed at him to leave. But the signal? The warning, the diaries. They all pointed to something deeper, something buried. One of the figures tilted its head slowly, exactly in sync with another across the street, and then another, until every single one of them moved the same way. The perfect unnatural motion made Ward's skin crawl. Without a word, the figures turned and vanished from the rooftops in total silence. That's not human, Varel said flatly, and I don't think it's just them watching us. Ward tightened his grip on his weapon. His gut told him the real danger wasn't in the streets. It was somewhere below their feet. Asterisk, the survivors' wards. Boots echoed softly as the team moved toward the center of the city again. The sunlight had dimmed, though no clouds blocked the sky. It felt as if the air itself had grown heavier, pressing against their chests. They turned a corner and stopped ahead. In a wide avenue stood a group of people, 10 at least. Their clothes were old, patched in strange ways, their skin pale like marble, and their eyes glowed with the same faint blue as the watchers on the rooftops. Raoul's scanner blinked with static. I can't get a reading, he muttered. It's like they're not even here. The group stood still at first, heads slightly bowed, then, in perfect unison, they lifted their chins and looked directly at the landing team. Welcome to Haven. Reach, they said together. The voices overlapped perfectly, every word in exact sync. Ward's grip on his rifle tightened. We're here because of a distress signal, he said slowly. Who sent it? For a moment, no one moved. Then, one figure, a woman with white hair falling in uneven strands, stepped forward. Her lips moved, but the voice that came out was the same one they had heard in the recording. Leave. While you still can. Ward froze. The voice wasn't just similar. It was identical. Every crack, every breath. Before he could speak again, the woman's eyes rolled upward, glowing brighter, and then her head snapped back down, the same blank expression. Returning, Varel took a cautious step back. They're not themselves, she whispered. Another figure, a tall man with broad shoulders, stepped forward suddenly. His movement was too fast, too sharp. He closed the distance toward one of the alien security officers in a heartbeat, gripping his arm with unnatural strength. The officer cried out as his knees buckled. It took both Ward and Raoul to pull the man away. The survivor didn't follow. He simply stepped back into the group, resuming his motionless stance as if nothing had happened. Ward's voice was hard now. What's controlling you? The entire group tilted their heads in the same slow arc. The Haven mind, they answered. The words carried a strange vibration, a tone that made the hair on the back of Ward's neck stand up. It felt like the sound was inside his skull. "We should go," Varel urged. The survivors didn't move to stop them. They simply stood there, eyes unblinking, watching as the landing team slowly backed away. When the team turned down another street, Ward risked one last glance back. The survivors were gone, not walking away, simply gone, as if they had never been there. The science officer's voice was low. If those were the survivors, "I don't want to meet whatever's in charge." Ward said nothing, but in his gut, he knew this wasn't over. Something was waiting for them, and it was below ground. Asterisk, the mine below. The decision to go underground was not made lightly. But Ward knew the answers they needed were not in the streets. Every instinct told him the city was only the surface of something much larger, much older. The team followed a cracked road leading out of the settlement. The air grew cooler, shadows stretching longer as they neared the jagged mouth of a mine entrance carved into the side of a low mountain. The old metal gate had been torn open, its hinges twisted like soft clay. Inside, the darkness was complete. Their helmet lamps cut through it in narrow beams, revealing stone walls slick with moisture. The smell changed, less of that faint sweetness from the city and more of something metallic, almost like blood. As they went deeper, faint echoes followed them, soft and irregular. It was impossible to tell if they were hearing drips of water or footsteps just far enough away to hide. Raul's voice was a whisper. "I'm hearing something, not with my ears, in my head." Ward slowed. "What do you hear?" "It's calling my name," Raul said, his eyes darting into the dark. "It sounds like my sister." "Keep moving," Ward ordered, his voice sharp. Tunnel widened into a vast chamber. The moment they stepped inside, the floor beneath their boots vibrated with a low hum. In the center of the chamber, half buried in the rock, rose a crystalline structure the size of a small building. Its surface pulsed with a cold blue light that seemed to breathe in and out. The whispers grew louder. They were no longer just in Raul's head. Ward could hear them too, voices overlapping. In dozens of tones, some human, some alien, all speaking in perfect unity. "We are the Haven Mind," the voices said. "You have come to join us." The light from the crystal reflected in the team's visors, flickering like the heartbeat of a living thing. Veins of glowing blue spread from the base of the crystal into the walls, disappearing deep into the rock as if the planet itself was wired to it. The science officer's voice trembled. This is not natural. It's alive, Captain. It's feeding on them." Ward's jaw clenched. "How?" She pointed at faint shapes visible within the crystal, human shapes, faces pressed against the inner surface, eyes open but empty. Their mouths moved in silent sync with the voices in Ward's head. One face made Ward freeze. It was Mara Ellen, the woman from the diary, her eyes locked on him, lips forming words without sound. The whispers shifted, matching her mouth. "Destroy it before it spreads." Ward felt a pressure in his skull, growing stronger. The other team members began to sway. Slightly, their eyes glazing over, Varel staggered, clutching her helmet. "It's inside my thoughts," she hissed. "It's telling me to let go." From deeper within the crystal, movement stirred. Shadows coiled and shifted like something waking up. The hum grew louder, vibrating in their bones. Ward knew then that this was no simple alien relic. It was a prison, or maybe a seed, and it was still alive. Asterisk. The truth about Haven reached Ward's pulse, pounded in his ears. The crystal's light brightened until it painted the walls in shifting shades of blue. Faces within the structure pressed closer to the surface, their features warped by the glow. Each mouth moved in sync, but the voices in his head no longer sounded like whispers. They sounded like a crowd standing right behind him. "We were human once," the voices said. "We were many, and we were alone." The images came without warning. Visions burned into his mind. He saw the colony's first miners unearthing the glowing shard from deep below the mountain. Touching it with bare hands, in moments their eyes shone with the same blue light. Smiles spreading slowly, unnaturally, they returned to the surface, speaking in unison, claiming they had found a gift. The vision shifted, showing days turning into weeks, people forgetting their own names, families no longer speaking as individuals, but as parts of one voice. It didn't matter who you were, farmer, child, soldier, all joined the same song in their heads, the crowd of voices in. Ward's mind swelled. We removed pain, we removed fear, we removed doubt, we made them one. We can make you one. Ward staggered back, pressing a hand to his helmet. No, he muttered under his breath, but the word felt thin, fragile against the sheer force pressing. Into his mind, the science officer was trembling, her eyes wide. Captain, it's not just controlling them, it's keeping them alive. Look, some of these faces. They're centuries old. Ward stared at Mara Ellen's frozen expression inside the crystal. Her lips moved again, matching the shape of desperate words. Destroy it. Raoul's voice broke in, panicked. Captain, 2 of the security team. They're gone. Ward spun around. 2 crew members were walking calmly toward the crystal, their weapons hanging loose. Their footsteps were slow, deliberate. Their eyes glowed faintly under their visors. Stop them. Ward shouted. Varel grabbed one, yanking him back. The man screamed, not with his own voice, but with dozens of overlapping tones. We belong to the Haven Mind. The other reached the base of the crystal and touched it. His body stiffened, eyes going blank. The crystal's light flared brighter, and his voice joined the chorus. We are stronger now. Ward's stomach twisted. The truth was clear. Haven Reach hadn't died. It had evolved into something else, something that couldn't be reasoned with, and if it ever left this planet, it would spread like a plague. The Haven Mind's voice softened, almost soothing. You are alone, human. Join us, and you will never be alone again. For a heartbeat, Ward felt the weight of its offer, the promise of endless unity, the end of fear and loss. But deep inside, a spark of human stubbornness burned hotter. Humans didn't bow. They fought. Ward took a slow breath. Not today. He said under his breath, then louder to his team, we're blowing this thing to hell. The crystal pulsed once more, and the whispers turned cold. We will remember you. Asterisk escape or assimilation ward moved fast, pulling the demolition kit. From his pack, his hands worked on instinct, setting charges around the base of the crystal. The hum in the air grew louder, like the sound of 1,000 distant heartbeats merging into one. Rio covered him, rifle raised, but his aim was shaky. The whispers were in everyone's heads now. Not just 1 or 2. You don't have to leave. Stay. Be part of something greater. Varel barked orders, her voice sharp to cut through the fog. Stay focused, don't listen. But even as she spoke, one of the remaining crew lowered his weapon and walked toward the crystal. Stop him. Ward shouted, but it was too late. The man's gloved hand touched the surface, and in that instant his body went rigid. His face relaxed into an eerie calm, and his eyes lit with cold blue fire. He is one with us now, the voices said. You will be next. The light pulsed brighter, and Ward felt a pressure in his skull like cold fingers wrapping around his thoughts. It showed him images, his family on Earth, smiling, safe, alive. It told him they could be with him forever. If he just let go. Ward's jaw tightened. He focused on the small, stubborn voice in his head that still belonged only to him. Not happening, he muttered, slamming the last charge into place. The ground shook as part of the cavern wall cracked. A deep rumble echoed, dust falling from above. The Haven Mind's tone shifted from soothing to sharp. You destroy us, you destroy them all. Ward glanced at Mara Ellen's face in the crystal. Her lips formed one final word. Please. Raoul? Trigger the countdown, Ward ordered. Raoul hesitated. Captain, if we do this, we might not make it out. Do it, Ward snapped, the timer armed with a heavy beep. A digital voice began counting down. That was when the crystal fought back. The cavern walls rippled with a wave of light, and from the shadows stepped figures, the colonists, moving like one body, eyes fixed on the team. Their movements were fast now. Too fast. They're coming. Varel shouted, firing into the front line. The first few fell, but more poured in behind them. Ward grabbed Raoul's arm, dragging him toward the tunnel. Varel covered their retreat, firing in short bursts. But one colonist slammed into her. Knocking her weapon away, she fought hand to hand, teeth bared. Go, she yelled, pushing Ward forward. He didn't have time to argue. He pulled Raoul toward the exit as the sound of the fight echoed behind them. The tunnel shook harder as the countdown neared its end. The air was filled with a roar of collapsing. Rock, the chorus of the Haven Mind, screaming inside their heads at the last bend before daylight. Ward looked back and saw a wall of blue light rushing toward them. He pushed harder, lungs burning. They burst into the open. Stumbling into the thin sunlight, Ward dove for cover behind a boulder, dragging Raoul with him. The countdown hit 0. Flash like a small sun erupted from the mine. The blast wave rolled over the hills, carrying with it the sound of 1,000 voices screaming and then cutting off mid-breath. Ward lay still for a long moment, chest heaving, Raoul's wide eyes staring at the smoke rising from the shattered mountain. But somewhere deep inside, Ward felt it. The faintest whisper, "We are not gone." Asterisk. The message the air outside the mine was thin and cold. Ward sat with his back against the boulder, helmet off, breathing deep. Smoke rolled up from the shattered mountain like black fingers reaching for the sky. Raoul sat beside him, silent, his hands still shaking. They both knew Varel hadn't made it out. Her absence hung heavy between them. Is it over? Raoul asked quietly. Ward didn't answer right away. He wanted to say yes, to tell himself they'd ended the Haven Mind here, on this lonely, cursed world. But deep inside, he remembered the last thing he felt before the blast, that whisper. Cold and certain, they made their way back to the shuttle. Every step through the empty city felt heavier, as if the streets themselves were watching. The sweet smell was still in the air, faint but lingering. The plaza looked exactly as they had first seen it, clean and untouched. Only this time, a single object sat in the center, a blackened shard of crystal, still glowing faint blue. Ward's stomach tightened. Don't touch it, he ordered. Raoul didn't argue. They stepped around it, moving fast toward the shuttle. Inside this cockpit, Ward fired up the engines. The ship lifted off, the city shrinking beneath them until it was just a dark shape against the green land. Clouds swallowed the view as they climbed higher. Set course for orbit, Ward said, voice low. Raoul nodded, but as he adjusted the controls, the comm system crackled. Static hissed in the cabin, followed by a voice. The same voice from the distress call. You can't kill an idea, Captain Ward. It whispered. We will find you. Ward's hands froze on the controls. The voice was inside the ship now, not coming from the planet. He checked the comm panel. The signal was coming from within their own systems. Suddenly, a secondary monitor lit up with camera feeds, not from the shuttle, but from the vigilant star still in orbit. On one feed, Ward saw crew members standing motionless in the corridors, their eyes glowing faint blue. Raoul's face went pale. It's already there. Ward didn't speak. His jaw clenched as he cut the comm and slammed the throttle forward. The shuttle shot toward orbit, but he knew speed wouldn't save them. In his personal log, recorded silently as the stars stretched into lines of light, Ward left a final warning. Never answer a signal from Haven Reach. Far below, on the ruined surface, The blackened shard in the plaza pulsed once, twice, and then went still. Asterisk.